Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Microverse Lunch and Learn edition. I'm so happy to be hosting again with Sarah. My name is Maria. I'm from Mexico. Sarah is from Brazil. And today we have a great speaker with us, Dmitry. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Hey, perfect. So Sarah and I are Microverse students, and Sarah is going to tell us a bit about our amazing program.
Hey guys. So first, sorry if there's any barking in the background because the dogs are also staying at home. Everyone. So yeah, what is the Microverse? Microverse is a remote full-time program with developers from all over the world, specifically for learning web development. The program itself is free to get a well-paying job, so it's really nice, very intensive though. We have different courses throughout the program ranging from algorithms, HTML and CSS, Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, React, Redux, and everything in between, even soft skills. We study every day, at least 8 hours a day, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., depending on your time zone. We do everything together, usually with a coding partner, so there's a lot of pair programming involved, a very collaborative environment, and also have a stand-up team meeting at the start of the day and at the end of the day. So you have a lot of support from your peers. Every couple of weeks, we organize a lunch and learn like this one with awesome guests like Dmitry. And the idea is to inspire students by showing them different perspectives and just how different professionals from the tech world work and think about it. Different professionals we already met. They worked on startups, they were ex-students, some worked on big companies, some were freelancers, some were part of the open source community. And we even had like really, like 1 month ago, we even interviewed a technical interviewer. So there's a lot of like very, yeah, there's like for change a bit. So there's a lot of very useful information here. We like to keep the lunch and learns open to the general public too, so we can share all the info and fun with everyone. So that's it.
Great. So we are very happy to be here with you, and we love to participate in Lunch and Learns. As you can see, this is our third one with Sarah. But let's go back to our speaker. Dmitry works at Distillery as a senior Android developer, and today he's going to talk about soft skills. And we have heard of soft skills a lot during our Microverse time, and it's a very important part of the curriculum too. But how many of you actually put them in practice? So Dmitry is going to tell us a bit more about that and what essential soft skills engineers need to be successful in the industry, especially being humble when working as a developer, because yes, it's not everything about algorithms and data structures. But before we start, let me remind you about the Q&A section. You can see there's a link on the chat that says Q&A. So if you post your questions there, we can ask them after the talk, and we can also vote for the best ones, so we can ask them first. Dmitry is going to talk around 30 minutes, and after that, we will have 10 to 15 minutes to ask the questions. Be responsible with your questions because we don't have a lot of time. And we also ask you that post on the Q&A, not the general chat, because we will be missing your questions if you post them there. And we really want you to get the most of this Lunch and Learn. So that being said, Dmitry, I'm going to hand the mic to you. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. One more time. My name is Dmitry Sitnikov. I'm originally from Russia, where I grew up. After that, I moved to Los Angeles, California. So when I was a kid, I was actually dreaming about becoming an engineer, but in a completely different area. I wanted to study aerodynamics and build cars. But then my parents gave me my first computer at the last year of my middle school, and that completely changed my life. That was an amazing thing. I never looked back since then. I decided that I would become a software engineer at that point. So I became a software engineer and was working with different projects and stuff like that. But then Apple released first iPhone and Google released first Android, I fell in love one more time and decided to become a mobile engineer. Yeah, here I go. I joined a company called Distillery, and they were looking for someone to start the mobile development department. So it was one of the first hire there. It was looking and working well. So eventually, I got promoted to the manager. And I was doing all sorts of things, hiring people, firing people, assigning new managers, defining salaries for the people, even moving people to the new office, everything. And then I switched back to engineering because I figured out that I love it more. But during that time as a manager, I was able to look at my fellow engineers whom I used to work with side by side from a different perspective. And I also was able to look at the communications and the processes in the company from a different perspective. And I figured out that the soft skills are actually pretty much the same, even though they may look slightly different depending on who you are and what you do. And the most important soft skill that I learned actually helps people a lot is just the ability to be humble. So I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna share like some advices, what to pay attention to, like which soft skills you need to develop in yourself. And being humble is really the first one. Most of you will become engineers, and as an engineer in a company, you would always be that smart person, like intellectual asset of the company. Like everyone would go to you to explain, to ask you to explain different hard topics and like how everything goes, how everything works, how everything's built. And many engineers tend to become a bit arrogant to others because they like, yeah, they know everything and they know that they know everything. And this attitude actually doesn't help. Other people love humble people, and I assume you want to be loved, not hated. And people around you actually know a lot, and it's hard to keep that in mind. It's easy to forget. So I haven't seen any, for example, UI designer in my life who would think that I know everything about software development. No, they would come to me as an engineer and ask a bunch of questions. But I've seen a lot of software engineers who think, yeah, I know UX, it's easy. Why is that? I don't know, but probably that explains all these terrible windows that you sometimes see, like with error message, like application successfully crashed with code 12345X. I bet those were engineers who thought that they are good at UX. So be humble, ask questions. Sometimes it's hard to ask. And many people think that it may show your weakness, but it actually shows completely different things. It shows that you care, and people love that. And I guess you want to be loved. And another thing is you need to be honest as well. It's almost impossible to be humble if you lie. And I don't mean like you lie on purpose, but as a manager, I noticed many people would lie to themselves. It's like they would go like, yeah, I'm a senior engineer. I know how to make this web server secure. And after you make the statement like that, even for yourself, even mentally, maybe not shout it out loud, then it's hard to ask someone more knowledgeable to explain the difference between SSL and TLS. And moreover, if you kind of have this attitude and you happens to be on a meeting, for example, you would lose a lot of information because you would not understand and you're so shy to ask questions. And then maybe you will figure that out, but you will spend an extra day or maybe an extra week, and it will make you actually less productive. So if you don't lie to yourself, if you stay honest and humble, you would be more productive. And it will also help you to be more accountable, and people can love that. And so next thing is, yeah, be accountable. Unreliable people are the manager's nightmare. Like you give someone a task and you hear back something reassuring, like, of course I will do it by the end of the day. And then by the end of the day, you hear nothing back. And maybe you have nothing back even by the end of the week, and that drives you mad. Like, trust me, that drives every single manager mad. So if you know that you maybe cannot do that, maybe you have a short memory like I do. Pro tip, use reminders for everything. Every time you promise something, just put a reminder and let people know that you're maybe working on it, maybe it's taking a bit more time. So the next advice would be to communicate. Just communicate what you're doing. A lot of people around you are doing something, but do you know what are they doing? Most likely you don't. And same thing applies to you. They don't really know what you are doing. And as we already know, managers hate that. The only thing that drives managers mad fast is silence. So when you're working on something, tell people what is going on. If you stumble upon something, if you see the problem, let them know. Share that information. And when you share something, people start sharing something with you. So then you become more productive as a team. And again, as a manager, I've seen teams that somehow do it better. They have some facilitator, someone who is willing to share the knowledge and to communicate and just tell everyone how it goes. And those teams are often the best. They are actually more productive. And another important thing is to be able to admit the mistakes. So say you underestimate something as an engineer. You say, yeah, I'll do it in 2 days. And then you don't. When people ask you, like, why did that happen? You have a couple options. You may go like, yeah, I meant 2 full days, but I have a bunch of meetings, so it's actually like 4 business days, and somebody didn't tell me that web service requires authentication. Or you may admit that and say, yes, I think I underestimated that a little bit. I will correct that next time. And people often, for some reason, default to the first option. Probably they think that it would make them sound more professional. But you probably already noticed that the second option sounds way more professional than the first one. And now, like, I'm kind of giving you advices that would make other people around you happier. But I do not mean that you need to be a crowd pleaser. By any means, don't. The next advice would be, don't afraid to argue. Just do it right. When something is not going well, just say it. And nobody likes that, especially managers. I have to admit that. But everyone respects that. And if you just are able to argue, staying calm and focused, everyone would eventually accept that. And they would remember that you were the one who mentioned that we have a problem, that something went wrong, and you would be the one who saved the project or the company, or maybe even some minor thing. But it's really great experience to feel that you can bring the important questions and that people listen to you. So don't stay silent. Just be humble when you argue with others. And some of you may become managers, like as I did. And when you as a manager look at the people who argue with you, always keep that in mind. So remember that those people are actually trying to do something good for you, even if they disagree with you. So accept them, embrace them. And if you don't know which, say you are in an argument, which option is the best, let them decide. They are your people, and they probably know that actually better than you do. And another piece of advice is to just work with people. Many engineers think that it's managers' responsibility to work with employees and somehow manage their needs, but it is not. the important soft skill is to understand the needs of your peers, of your colleagues. And the best way to do that is to lead the effort, show them how to be humble and how to be open, and be open, share your needs. To the previous point, if something is not working well, if something is holding you back, let people know about that, share that, and they would start sharing things with you. And then you realize that the many problems that you have in a team, they have hidden reasons. And these reasons are not so hard to understand if you just stay genuinely interested in people. Somebody may be missing every Tuesday a meeting at 8 a.m. because a person needs to drive kids to school, and then you can just ask and then reschedule the meeting. And somebody may be trying to push some shitty code to production, but then the reason would be this person is really pushed hard by CTO and has no other options. So by helping that person, you may end up having a better product, and again, saving company from wasting money or doing a mistake. But if you don't listen to the people, what happens is that like you just see the result. You see someone is missing the meeting and somebody else is pushing the shitty code to production, and it would make you kind of upset, and some people even become really angry because they don't see the underlying reasons of the problems in the team. So by working with people, you again become a better teammate, and your team works better if they express genuine interest in each other. Another phenomenon that I observed is, again, when people complain, they often think that they are not empowered to fix something, and they expect a manager to do that for them. And there is no reason for that. Sometimes you can actually do everything you need, get everything that's required for you to be productive from your company. You just need to either ask or start doing things. Sometimes, and most of the time actually, your manager will be quite busy. So if you have some request, it may be just not in a top list of these managers' priorities, and it would never be done. But then you can really simplify your life and make it better and easier if you go to your manager and present the manager with a list of options like that you already prepared, or maybe with a solution, and just ask for the permissions to execute. And in 99% of the cases, I bet the manager would be happy that you did that, and you'll get what you need. Again, being humble helps here. I've seen many engineers who think that their time is so important, they would not do minor things that hold them back. Like, even like, no, I will not fix the wheel on my chair. I will just waste a day waiting for the technician, even though I can probably do that in 5 minutes. I just don't be that person. Do whatever is best for your team and for yourself, and don't feel too entitled to sometimes do something that may not be officially part of your job, like writing fancy JavaScript code and doing beautiful interfaces. And one more thing I want to share with you, it's more related to management, I suppose. But again, after I switched back to engineering, I figured out that this advice helps me. So watch out for your routine and automate everything that's possible. When I was a manager, I was constantly overloaded. I had to work for 12 hours a day, and I would come with a bunch of questions. And then I slowed down and looked back and figured out that many things that I do are repeatable tasks. And some of them I can automate, some of them I can delegate. The first thing I did, I automated the salary calculation just because I hated the process. And suddenly, I got a couple of extra hours. Then I switch back to engineering, and I figure out that it works exactly the same way. You may probably have some tedious process of deployment, or maybe the meetings take extra time, or something else eats up 30 minutes every single day. But when you add up these numbers, that's a lot of time. So fix that, automate that. So watch out for your routine, and again, it will make you a way better engineer. Now, I'd like to deviate a little bit. Everything I said before was kind of based on my learnings as a manager, but I also learned a lot as an engineer, and that's related to being humble. I see a lot of engineers wasting a lot of time because they assume that something goes wrong outside. Like, I write a piece of code and it's not working as expected, so maybe there's something wrong with the library. No, usually it's not. Always assume that it's your fault, that it's your code is wrong. Like, if something goes wrong, that's probably your code. Again, it's kind of like humbleness, and then when you manage to achieve that state of mind, this attitude, you'd figure out that fixing bugs became way faster, because in 99% of the cases, the bug is actually on your side. And then learn the basics. I think many of you are switching the careers right now, and you have really good hands-on experience. But once you get that, again, look back and think what's all based on? Like, what are these algorithms? Like, why do we have them? Why do we have this kind of solutions? Learn the basics. Probably all of you already doing that. I do not know. I haven't seen the Microverse program. Basics looks tedious, but again, most of the engineers whom I work with, they did that, and those were the best engineers. They have a deep understanding of data structures that they use, and they really reason about every solution. So the curiosity may bring you really far, and you may find the answer, but the understanding of the basics will tell you exactly where the answer is. It's kind of like a shortcut. It just takes a little bit more time initially, so then you can move way faster. And then once you learn the basics, once you have this hands-on experience, teach others. That's the best way to learn something. Every time I thought I knew something, and somebody had asked me to give a talk or to maybe mentor someone, I managed to learn something that I didn't know. And teaching is the best experience ever. It's not just something that makes you a better person and not something that gives you knowledge. It's a tremendous sense of satisfaction when you're done, and when you see the people growing, people doing better, and you know that it is something that you gave them, maybe that helped them to get that far, and it became partially your own achievement. And it's so pleasant to see that. And if you teach people, they would ask you questions, and often you wouldn't know the answer. So again, be humble and just accept that. I know myself from these students' years how I hated the teacher who pretend that the teacher knew everything. Like, and it was clearly obvious that no, that wasn't the case. So be humble, just accept that, and then next time you would know the answer, and you would know that in the deeper details that you would otherwise know it. What else? I think I'm almost ready to wrap up. I have a couple things that may not be that ubiquitous. Everything I shared before was based on my observations and my experience with different teams and different people I worked with. But there are several other things that I learned personally for myself. They may or may not work for you, but I guess at least for maybe 50% of you, that should work. So what works for me and what doesn't? I do what drives my passion. Sometimes I have a plan and it just feels like the plan is not right. Like I know that I have to do that for some reason, but it's not where my heart belongs to. And every time I switch to my passion, everything suddenly goes better. So maybe listen to your heart from time to time, and they'll help you. And don't read too much of the motivation articles, speeches, and videos on YouTube. I don't know why, but it never worked well for me. Like almost everyone, I was trying to read and listen these kind of materials. But it turns out when you hear someone speaking about the productivity and ultimate efficiency, it may cause the imposter syndrome, and you feel like, oh, I would never be at that level, and it will not help you to progress. It just became the source of like extra hesitation. You feel like you just cannot do that. So if you experience any issues with your motivation, or you think you're not as productive as you should, maybe just don't think about it that much, and maybe you'll become more productive just because you're not thinking that much about it. And same thing about the personal goals. I was sometimes focusing too much. I even had my to-do list and I had these goals. And as soon as I have this list in front of me, that would make, like, I would stop. I have so many. And the way out of this situation is just to hide this list somewhere far away and just think, like, what do I want at this moment of time, and focus on that, not on your goals list. And once you get back to this to-do list after you're done with something that you really like, the list will become more clear. And if you're hesitant to try something new, if you need to learn something, if you think that something is too hard, just find a way to do it, like some kind of hands-on experiment. I bet you have a lot of that here in the Microverse, and I personally find it's the most productive way to me. Once I see something is working, and I can actually do at least the basic things, then it unlocks everything. It unlocks my productivity, it unlocks my curiosity, and then I'm ready to read something fundamentals, basic, like I said. But see something work, and even like super basic stuff really helps. Whatever it is, maybe physical stuff, maybe some engineering effort. Just try it first, and then figure out the rest. And learn examples. If you don't know where to start or how to approach the problem, find someone who already solved a similar problem and see how they did that. And yeah, I think I'm almost ready for the last piece of advice, which is probably kind of unexpected. How I hurt myself when I was a manager. I forgot to eat at the right time. When you're too busy, you sometimes forget about your routines. You don't do your morning exercises because you rush to the office. You don't get your lunch at a time because you have something important to do. Don't do that. Like, never do that. You will notice that it hurts you even more than anything else, and you will become non-productive, non-happy, grumpy person that cannot do anything, including your work. So take care about yourself. Mind your well-being, eat well, sleep well, enjoy your life first, then do your job. I think that's it, and I'm ready for questions.
Okay, that was really cool. Maho, are you there? Let's see if we can go to questions.
Yes, we can go. I'm not gonna turn my
Hey.
camera because it's gonna be
Okay
you
then.
only.
Just
So
the voice.
perfect.
Nice. That was really cool. The last thing at the end, especially the self-care, that's completely true. That's really nice. So we have a lot of questions actually for this. I think people really enjoyed the talk. Let's see. The one that was voted the most for by everyone is so from Michael. So he said that he comes from a professional career that's non-related to tech or like to engineering or anything like that, and he wants to know what are his real possibilities of growing as a developer or as a coder, and yeah, how to have success at this area. And let me see. Yeah, and like I'm not sure what he means. He's mentioning that he wants you to tell how you developed areas of your code script. I think he's talking about how you developed your programming skills at the start of your career.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I don't have an experience of switching the career, so I cannot help you much with that. But I've seen some really successful engineers work with me who did that. And what did they do? They read the books. And so they started with fundamentals to unlock the next year. The next year is you started with fundamental, read some book, or maybe like take some course like Microverse or Coursera or whatever. There are so many options, a lot of materials in the internet. And once you're done with that, practice. There's nothing you can learn without the practice. I personally forget everything. And one of the best engineers I ever worked with, she was on parental leave. And she told me that first couple months she was taking all the Coursera courses she could get her hands on. And after that, she started writing an application for mothers. So as you can see, that was a source of the passion at the same time and the ability to practice. When you can practice on something that you deeply care about, you would practice twice as intense and you'll probably get a better result. So yeah, start with basics and then practice.
Yes, I think that was very useful. So the next one, same amount of votes. What it's from Cyrus, I think. So he's asking, she asking you about your experience in beating deadlines. If you ever missed deadlines, if there were consequences, like did a manager maybe try to fire you, or you as a manager, maybe you fire someone because of the deadlines. Did you that maybe missing deadlines? Did that change how your colleagues see you, or how you view your own ability? And oops, sorry about that. Dogs at house, everyone's at home. That's great. So yeah, and like ultimately, he's asking also, how do you handle that kind of situation, and also for you to touch a bit on the imposter syndrome and on productivity.
Okay, let's do it one by one. The estimations. It is probably one of the hardest question that you maybe ask in the office. Like it's always complex, and that's the biggest problem for many teams. Most of the teams do not know how to give estimations. Most of the teams do not know how to deal with estimations. So you're right, they're always going to be the source of a problem. And the best solution I found for myself, again, is to be humble and admit that I do not know something. When people ask me, how long will it take? I say, I don't know. I don't afraid to say that I don't know, even if they think that I should know the answer. And then I would tell them exactly why I cannot give the answer right now. I can give the rough estimate. I can guess But I would always tell, like, that's a guess, I do not know. And they would ask, like, what would it take to know the answer for sure? So then we can start talking. So admitting that you do not know the answer, that's the first step to solve this problem and to be successful in that. And then anyway, there are different types of managers. Personally, I never fired anyone for not meeting the deadlines. And I haven't seen any deadline that wasn't met because of developers. Like, I've seen a lot of deadlines that are not met, a lot. Probably more than 50% of deadlines are not met, maybe even more than 80. That's the truth in the industry. But the reasons are completely different. It's not the engineering fault, it's the communication fault. People tend to fail in communications. People tend to, again, be arrogant. Sometimes they say, we can do everything, and sometimes they overpromise. They want to look better than they actually are. They forget to stay humble, and then they end up with estimations that have nothing to do with real life. So what you can do about that, in addition to just being honest, is probably to communicate. So already touched a little bit on that, but many misses in the deadline happen because managers do not have the visibility. They have something else, they think about something else, they communicate with their clients, and that keeps them fully occupied until the very last moment. And in the very last moment, they'll come to you and ask, hey, how much time left? And you go, 2 months, and you have 2 days. So if you communicate in the earlier stages, you will have a lot of time to adjust. They may cut the scope of the project. They may convince the client to shift the deadline. There are many solutions there, but they would only work if you communicate. And the earlier you communicate, the higher the chance of success here.
Okay, so I think there was also another question on that big one about productivity. You mentioned communication, yeah, but there's anything else that you as a developer can do to increase it a bit? You did say something about the list, not actually just pasting that in front of you, but you have anything else to boost your productivity a bit?
I mean, I do. At some point, I was really focused on that productivity and really wanted to improve that. After that, I figured out that probably that was a wrong goal, and you just should not focus that much on the productivity per se, and just do what you enjoy. I hope you enjoy engineering and practice that. The reason I left management, because I would never become a good or a great productive manager. It was not quite my passion. So I would not practice on my own. If you like something like running, you would run no matter what. You would do that. If you like surfing, you would go surfing. If you like engineering, you would do engineering. If you just don't like it and want to be more productive in that, probably the advice would be to just try something else. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. But if you like engineering, so what kind of helped me in addition to learning basics, and that helps, the tooling. The tools helped me a lot learn how to do command line. Initially, it feels like it drags you down, but it's just the initial feeling, and then it actually speeds you up. Learn every single tool that you have at your disposal. Say I use IntelliJ IDEA. I learned the hotkeys. I learned the features of this thing. I follow JetBrains blog, so they sometimes mention new features that I was not aware of. So I read about them, and I see if these features really help me to work. And I don't really focus on the productivity. When I see the feature that helps me, I just start using that because I like the feature. And one by one, feature by feature, it makes me more productive. Same about the terminal or Git. I have a bunch of plugins. I have all my Z shell in my iTerm tool. I have Git town on top of Git. Many tiny little things. And every single tool like that saves me a minute here and there. So I think that's the best way that I know to be even more productive. Sometimes you just cannot write the algorithm you want in 2 minutes, but you can be more productive in everything else. And everything else contributes to 50% of your time. So by just doing that, you would still be a more productive engineer.
Okay, that was a lot nice. Maybe you could share some of your tooling also at the end of the QA. I'm very curious to know about those. Okay, so the next very voted question, actually the most voted so far. So about age and being entering as a new developer. Ahmed is asking someone between 35 and 40. Is that too old to become a developer? Would it be? Do you think it would be very hard to get a job? Is the age a factor? Is there maybe an age at which it becomes virtually impossible to be hireable?
First of all, you are young. It's not the right age to start asking questions like that. And no, it's not too old. I was not doing a lot of hiring myself. I had a hiring manager reporting to me to do the job. But I do not remember us looking at the age that much. We mostly look at the achievements. So when you switch in the career, and maybe a slight disadvantage that you cannot show the results, you don't have that much in your resume. That's why, again, it's beneficial to do something on your own, do your own project on GitHub, find at least a couple people to use that project, get the feedback from them, and you'll have something to show. And that's what most of the IT companies care about, your ability to execute and your ability to do the job, and your ability to communicate with other people, because you will work in a team. And at the very least, they look at your age, your gender, or something else. I would not lie. Sometimes you just look that something is not right with the resume when you receive like an application for the senior manager position from somebody who's like 22 years old. Probably that's too much, and probably the person is not humble enough. And sometimes it's the opposite, and I think that something may be wrong. This person should not apply for the junior engineer position like with that resume. But that's the only thing. And if you explain that, say, you switched the career and that's why you apply for the junior position, but you are eager to learn and you know what to do, most likely people will hire you.
Nice. So I think that maybe around the last questions, right?
Yeah, I think so, because of the time.
So let's see. We have some questions that we can bundle together a bit. So there are a lot of people asking about the topic, about being humble and being humble with other people. I guess that's the most difficult thing for most of us. So I think, like you mentioned before, how you can show by you can teach by example, right? You teach people by your doing how to be humble, how to be open with your mistakes and like being noticing other people. So that's okay. Also, let's see, what else do we have? Working with someone that's not humble.
I think someone asked
Okay.
About a practical example, right? About being humble.
True.
I think that was very interesting.
We have, nice. So then let's do this one. There's the practical example of being humble, and also what being humble means to you personally. There's a way to simplify it.
Okay, yeah, I saw this question. I really like that one, so I really wanted to answer it. Thanks for bringing this up. An example. Say you have a meeting with a team, and somebody proposes a solution, and you see that something wrong with the solution, something is missing in it. There are many ways to go about that. You may say, that will not work, or that will not work because, or your idea sucks, or your idea is wrong. People tend to take personally everything that's related to them. If somebody expresses an idea, this idea becomes part of a person. So when you criticize an idea, you already criticizing a person. If you criticize the person, that doubles the negative impact. So first of all, never mention a person at all. Like never go about the person's personal qualities or something like that. Like somebody asked the question like about the switch in the career, right? You have someone like that in a team. You should never say something like that. Oh, you don't know that because you don't have that experience. First of all, you do not know if the person had that experience. And second, it's simply arrogant and rude. Now, focus on the idea itself. If you focus on the idea, you kind of already mitigate the negative impact. And then instead of criticizing the idea, ask more questions about that. If you think that something will not work, ask, hey, did you consider that? Or how would that work with this and that? And then you start the communication process. Turns out when you ask the questions like that, sometimes you figure out that you are wrong. And there is an answer. Or sometimes you will be right, and then you will come up with a better solution together. And that's how, by staying humble, you can have a productive conversation with your peers. So what was else? I think that was the main part of the question, but there was something else.
That's the main part. I guess that's on being practical ways of being humble, right? And then like what's humble to you? What humble means? What being humble means for you personally?
For me, the biggest topic of the recent years of my life was the understanding of how privileged I am. I didn't know that in the past. I thought I was a great student because I had all the A marks. I thought I was a great engineer because I worked hard and I was smart. It turns out it's not the case. Maybe I was successful at that, but it was not because I'm smart or smarter than other people around me. People around me are as smart as I am. They just love different things. I had like great surfers, motorcycle riders, QA experts, people who excel at many different areas. I just may not notice that in the office. The reason I'm probably successful at what I'm doing is just because I deeply love what I'm doing, and other people love something else. So I'm extremely lucky that I have an ability to work with something that I love, that my parents gave me my first computer, that I had internet, food, fresh water, and everything that I need to graduate, to become an engineer. And another thing that struck me recently is that it doesn't take a lot to be in 1% of the more richest people in the world, for example. Let's think about that. There's so many people do not even have access to the internet that's good enough to be a Microverse student. So every time you think that you may be underprivileged in comparison to others, think that there are many more people who are underprivileged in comparison to yourself. It took me a lot. It took me 30 years to understand that. But hopefully now I'm a more humble person, and I think now I really know
it. That's
Thanks
a very
lot.
good
Like
answer.
yeah.
Yes, I
You are
like
great
that.
at answering. Very nice.
Yeah, because that's something we don't usually think, but you cannot. I really like what you said. Never focus on the person because you're not talking about the person. That's like the main rule when you are going to give an opinion about something. It's not about the person. It's about the idea, the product, the work, and it's so much different. So it's time to wrap things up. Thank you so much, Dmitry, for your time. It was very interesting. Thanks everyone for being here. And the next Lunch and Learn is going to be on May 13. You can expect your invitation on the email. And we also Sarah and I wanted to tell you that you should apply to be a host. This is so much fun. We enjoy it a lot. And we also get Microverse t-shirts. You cannot see it, but we are wearing them. So please apply and see you on the next Lunch and Learn.
Yeah,
So
and
that
one
was a
thing,
pleasure.
since we have a lot of questions, a lot of great questions, Dmitry, maybe can you maybe send, if you are comfortable with your Twitter or some way you can answer other questions, if you are available to,
I was
maybe?
about to say that I see
Perfect.
many questions. I would be happy to answer all of them. That's a privilege. So yeah, can you girls share the
Oh, I
Twitter,
can
or
I
can
can post
I
it.
just post it in the chat?
Yes.
You can find me as FO then two RIST. That's my nickname with a digit in the middle, and that's my Twitter. That's my Medium. All my accounts have this. For two list. So yeah, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer all the questions.
Perfect. And we will also post that on the Microverse Slack so you can have it. And thank you again for everything. Sarah, thank you. Dmitry, thank you.
Yeah, you too. And someone is asking, this webinar will be recorded.
Yes, of course.
We always send the record after the webinar is over, so you can rewatch it.
Yeah. So that will be all. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.